Iceland sits as far north as places that see extremely cold temperatures in the winter, like Fairbanks, Alaska, and Nuuk, Greenland. They all sit at about the same latitude just south of the Arctic Circle, but Iceland's climate is a little bit different. The Gulf Stream in the North Atlantic brings warm water to the south coast of the island, giving it a more temperate climate. The same can't be said for the north side of the island though. North Iceland receives much colder air that's coming down off of the Arctic and the Greenland Sea. On the morning of the 4th day of my journey around Iceland, I fully experienced that Arctic air. The fog had lifted and I could see blue sky as the twilight turned into day. This is exactly what I had hoped for every morning in Iceland. At one point in history, the Mývatn area had a substantial amount of volcanic activity that scattered craters all around the landscape, the largest of which is Hverfjall. To really appreciate this crater, you need to see it from an aerial point of view. I couldn't have asked for a better way to see the sunrise this morning. And at this point, I was starting to make my way west across the north of Iceland. Not far from Mývatn is Godafoss. Godafoss translates to Waterfall of the Gods. With a name like that, you'd expect it to be the size of something like the waterfall Godafoss, but it was a bit smaller than I expected. That really didn't matter to me because I'm a big fan of waterfalls no matter the size. It was still a really impressive waterfall, especially surrounded by all of the snow and ice. I'm not gonna lie though, between the temperatures, the wind, and the mist from the waterfall, it was so cold this morning. So I was only able to really stick around for so long before I couldn't feel the tips of my fingers anymore. This was by far my biggest day of driving because I was basically going from the eastern side of the island to the western side and Snæfellsnes Peninsula. And to top it off, I was trying to get there by sunset to capture something truly special. But on my way, I just had to make a stop at Grafarkirkja. Iceland is home to a lot of churches that have been around for a very long time, like the famous Black Church of Budir and the all-stone Valneskirkja on the Reykjanes Peninsula. This church was built in the 17th century, and to put that into perspective for you, that's older than the country of the United States. It sits in a beautiful setting on its own with snow-covered mountains surrounding it. The church itself was built with the traditional Icelandic technique where they line the outside with turf, which gives this little church so much character. And if you look closely, you'll also notice the detail that went into the wood and the metalwork. This is another location that you absolutely need to add to your list of places to see. And after that, the race was on to catch the sunset at my absolute favorite location in Iceland, and also where I took probably one of my best photos that I have ever taken. As the road brought me along the north side of the Snæfellsnes Peninsula, the views became more and more breathtaking. I could see the ocean and strings of islands that had little houses and fishing camps scattered all across them. I had timed it perfectly and finally made it to Kirkjufell. Kirkjufell is one of the places that you commonly see in photos of Iceland, but it's far less crowded than places like Godafoss or Diamond Beach. By the time I had gotten set up, the sun was in a nice position and I was presented with one of the best views of my entire trip. It was absolutely perfect. The waterfall sitting in front of that unbelievable mountain with the ocean and mountain range in the background, all topped off with the sunset, just made it an unbelievable, incredible experience, and one that I will never forget for the rest of my life. It's moments like these that truly make you feel so fortunate and thankful to be in these places. It's one thing to see it in a photo, but it's so much more meaningful to be in that place, in that moment. To top off this amazing experience, I realized that I was standing next to one of my favorite photographers on Instagram, Matt Littlewood. If you haven't heard of him, you should check him out because his photographs are absolutely stunning. I introduced myself and he asked if I had seen the forecast for the Northern Lights that night. And then he pulled out his phone and showed me the forecast, and it was gonna be a good one. Since this was my first time capturing the Northern Lights, I was so excited to actually just be photographing them that I forgot to turn on the camera and record any video. So here are a few photos that I shot, including one that I shot on my iPhone, which is crazy to me. This day definitely checked off a few bucket list items for me, and it's a day that I'll never forget. And just like I talked about in my last episode, this is another day that made me really appreciate slowing down and experiencing each location. This day also reminded me why I love photography and why I'm so thankful to be in the photography community. People like Matt Littlewood make it an amazing community to be a part of. He didn't know me from Adam and didn't have to tell me about the aurora forecast. He could have just kept that to himself, but he didn't. We need more photographers like that. More collaboration and less competition. And that could honestly go for any community out there. It'll help all of us grow, get better, and capture even more breathtaking content to share with people around the world and let them experience the things that we get to experience on a regular basis. And that's it for this episode. If you haven't already, I would love it if you guys would subscribe and give this video a like. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Later.